It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Mariah Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Alaja, Nima Akasha Ziviri, how you doing?
I'm fine.
I love the blue you're wearing today. It's so gorgeous.
Thank you. Miami
Miami
creature
again.
is the lady. Her name is Miami. It's my people.
Rishi.
She's the one styling me
Miami.
for the entire month.
Girl.
I put her picture up already.
Okay.
I just want to
How was
beg
your weekend?
Lagosians. Whoever told us it's a no man's land, so we can pour our waste in the middle of the road, the person did us a fraud. This morning I had to step on my brakes because a young girl was carrying a basin, and I thought she was carrying goods. Only for her to cross at mile 2 and turn it in the middle of the road and cross right before my car. I was just looking. It was normal. In fact, it was after she had crossed, I saw that she was wearing bomb shorts and a spaghetti, probably coming from her house. And I see that on the Ocean, the Apapa Expressway a lot, but I've never seen it on the Badagry Expressway. But
that's what Fashola
just
said. It's just a breakdown of law and order. So
you
there are
just
rules,
cross, come and pour
things
waste.
to do, things not to do.
You're waiting for
It's a
you to be arrested.
breakdown of law and order. Somebody must
be
enforce.
arrest.
No, but somebody must be there to show that.
We
Sorry,
own
like,
it. It's normal for you
Yes.
to find a spot as a community where you can burn it.
Yes.
But to normalize carrying it, tying it in nylon,
Yes.
and just throwing it in front of people.
So it's not just
can't
law
take
enforcement,
responsibility.
community
So
enforcement,
annoying.
personal enforcement.
Yes.
All of us must enforce each other.
But it crossed on, shake it, listen. Because it actually crossed my mind that, did I stop for this nonsense? But
Yeah. Well, how are you doing, Tokwe?
I'm very good. I had a very,
It's
very...
like a Mariam earring.
It's Onipot, but it's actually something that I know Mariam would love.
Yes, something
Onipot supplies us with
Lovely.
really nice earrings.
How you doing? How was your weekend?
It was very eventful. Most of the weekend was within my house, but it was an eventful weekend from my house. So I volunteer and partner with Quiverful Ministries. It's a ministry that helps people waiting, families trying to have a child, provide them with a community counseling and funding for IVF. And I've been volunteering for them for the past 5 years. They do fertility conference every January, and we had a really amazing time on Saturday. Every year we celebrate babies because they pay for the IVF, and you might pay for many and only few would click, but those few, it's a huge deal. So we're always seeking partners to help fund the IVF for people. We have 80 families waiting for IVF right now. Please, whatever you do, you will help them. These are people that the only reason they don't have children is because they don't have money to pay for the IVF. So.
Hello, Whitney Houston. How you doing?
Very apt.
How are you? How was your weekend?
Weekend went well. Actually, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Jesse Tafida. He's our correspondent in Maiduguri. He sent me a box of catfish all the way from Maiduguri.
Hey!
A big box.
Are you for real? Fresh or
No,
the
dry.
dry?
I was blown away.
it's not
It was like from your younger brother. See, you have a big sister for life.
I didn't even know he
Thank you so
exists.
much.
Oh, fantastic.
No, but they have a relationship.
Oh, fantastic.
We have a relationship.
You have a relationship with everybody and their
introduced
great grandfather.
Jesse, I'm washing you.
That's nice. That's nice. I'm happy that you speak to our correspondents and correspondents. That's great news.
He's a friend of the house, and he loves us all.
Oh, we
Thank
love you
you.
right back. I'm sorry I don't know you, but I'm happy that Mariam is getting
Enjoying
fish from you.
dividends.
Privilege home. That's good. That's
How was
good.
your weekend?
My weekend was okay. My son was ill. I didn't get any sleep at all. We've been up all night nursing, stooling, hospital runs back and forth, those things. And daddy's sleeping, snoring next door, but
Why do you have to call you back?
But the truth is, somehow
it happens.
Men, I don't know, it's a gift some men.
And this morning he woke up, went to the gym. I'm like, oh, how convenient. Like, you go to the gym. I've been up all night. I wish I could go to the gym.
Men find it easy to sleep, but
it's all
men
good.
cannot try
I'll teach you
it.
an exercise to help you sleep sharp.
Oh, she couldn't sleep because she had to watch
had
her
to
baby.
watch
When
nursing.
she's done, just do it for 10 minutes and you knock out.
Okay.
All right,
Start calling us for that exercise, please, Ima.
let's go.
Exactly.
Break. And we
Please,
come
what's
back.
that exercise
We
that
go to
Hajia
the
did?
front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Oh, thanks for staying with us. One of those days that we don't have papers, so we have to just rely on the online. Let's start with The Nation. All our physical papers find their way to the studio. Tinubu rallies APC leaders, candidates for election. Auditor General fails to publish 2020 report. Kidnappings, Amotekun firms up security in Southwest. Petrol subsidy removal will unlock 11 trillion naira. 12 abducted Igweben train passengers freed. CBN's credit card takes off. And Conra hopeful of salary payment. All right, which story are we starting with?
Let's start with the CBN's credit card. So finally, they're giving us an alternative to MasterCard, Discovery, and Visa card that are all over the world abroad. Oh.
Go ahead. Maybe he did not see that was my story. Okay, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, this card has been launched, and according to the CBN, it will give the same payment solutions like other cards have offered, which includes debit, credit, virtual loyalty, and tokenized cards, non-interest card, and identity card. They said that this domestic cards is a significant transformation in its payment system over the decade. I welcome this idea. I've always bothered about, why whatever past policies our government thought it was wise for us to get our payment solutions from somewhere in the US. I thought, is it that we don't have the technical know-how to do this here? Right. But finally, the
CBN said that our country has also introduced this because of our because of our belief that Nigeria has achieved significant transformation in payment system, which was an innovation over the past decade. And the bank has added that it's been driven by rapid digital and technological innovation. So,
exactly, and it offers the benefits of reduction of costs and use of foreign exchange. That is in a large way. Protection of our data sovereignty and enabling local relevant propositions is something that we should have long ago, introduced, but I'm grateful that we're finally there.
Okay, another story?
Yes, I'll take the NDLEA story. Okay. The NDLEA at the weekend busted another tramadol cartel. They seized millions of opioids, pills, and bottles worth over 5 billion naira from a warehouse in Amuodofi, Lagos State. They also busted another tramadol cartel and seized millions of opioid pills. And this one was, they uncovered and dismantled a structure. That's a lab in Shagamu, Ogun State, where some of these equipments and materials that they use in creating, in making what they call scoochies, was a scoochies lab. I don't even know what all this is. They sound like rappers' names to me. But, they were able to find it and dismantle it. And, just recently, January 10th, they had also caught a particular kingpin. So, well done, NDLEA. But imagine that we have cartels and big warehouses that hold these things together. And we have communities around them.
These are small Lagos. Anyway, any other story?
Yes, I want to take the story of Amotekun firming up security within the Southwest. There's been a slew of attacks, kidnappings that took place within Ekiti, Oshogbo. So the Amotekun, the spokesperson for the field commander, rather, for Amotekun, Commander Shitu, said that my men are on red alert and they are aware of the kidnappings within the state. They are asking for more support from Governor Ademola Adeleke to enable members of the outfits get logistics to be able to better secure the forest, because they are going to be patrolling forest areas. They are also working with getting field intelligence, that they would run the patrol even while they are gathering intelligence from people that live within that area. There been kidnapping. 2 farm owners were kidnapped within the Oshogbo area. A 51-year-old wife of someone who is a big NNPC top shot was also kidnapped, and the farmers were asked to pay about 250 million. They reduced it to 10 million. The family said they were telling them that for each farmer they should pay 5 million, and they can't even raise the money. They threatened to kill the farmers if the money is not released, and Amotekun is saying they are doing all to secure the release of the farmers, and they are working with NSCDC, as well as other security apparatus within the state to ensure that they get the release of kidnapped people and reduce further kidnapping within the Southwest.
All right, let's move on quickly now to The Punch.
The papers are here?
Yeah, physical papers are here. Bank borrowing from CBN rises to 60% to 21.87 trillion naira. 42 COVID-19 infections recorded. AFG rules out restrictions. Oil earnings rise 363 billion naira in 3 months. 16 PDP supporters killed, 83 injured in crash. Widows demand benefits as federal government honors fallen soldiers. NBA president seeks constitutional amendment and independent candidacy. Terrorists lynch Niger priest, abduct 5 Castina worshippers, and Google unveils portal for 2023 elections. Okay, which story?
Take the picture story. So, in honor of our fallen heroes, our president led senior government officials and military officials at the wreath-laying ceremony in Abuja to mark the 2023 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. The IGP was there, the Chief of Defense Staff, and also at the state levels, our governors also did like a replica of the same ceremony. Journalists were speaking to, a few people, and there's a widow of a falling Air Force squadron, Cynthia. Her name is Cynthia Uba, and she was just asking that government should, she's calling for the speedy payment of life insurance benefits and other entitlements due to the grieving families of these heroes. She said that in her own personal situation, she was able to get her benefit within a month or two. She says that's what the time that it would usually take. But there are many families still waiting 9 months to a year, and they have not received any benefits. And so she's asking that government, that she's sure the military is doing its best, but they need to do better, because we know how these families are. They would have nothing, and they're just waiting to get these benefits. So as we celebrate them, another way to honor them is to make sure that the families that they have left behind, are well taken care of.
Can they even have an office that reaches out? Because I am around the barracks at Ojo. I see too many of these cases to just take it at newspaper level. Some have mothers, the young men below 30 that joined the army, and the first they went, they didn't come back. Their mothers every day sit outside just looking, moping. You pass by. Can they have an office that reaches out to them, understand their needs, know that, their expectations and hope have been dashed? And somebody
I'm not even sure about the office. I think it's more of, let them do, they have offices.
They have the
but
data.
actually disburse the funds, the funds, availability of the funds and ability to disburse.
Who's died, his next of kin is his mom, not just wife. We know we have too many cases of wives.
It's our topic today. Let's not focus on it because we'll talk about it a bit later. Google has announced a launch of a portal for Nigerian election trends hub. According to them, they discovered that Nigerians need information. They wanted to equip Nigerians towards the general elections. According to the public affairs manager for West Africa, Taiwo Kola Ogunlade, said that we want Nigerians to be empowered with information during the upcoming election. So we are organizing information to make it easy for voters. So what this portal will do is have questions about the candidates, the trending questions about these candidates, what people want to know about the candidates. I mean, even the campaign organizations can actually also know what the people want to know about their various candidates. He said the platform will allow users to compare the search popularity of their candidates and trendy questions being asked about them. So this is a good tool for not just the populace, but even the campaign classes of each of the various parties to be able to monitor what people are asking, what questions that need to be addressed, and how to ensure that they engage Nigerians constructively. Any other story in Punch?
Okay.
Who has the NBA? Let me take the NBA story.
The Abeson, that's the government-owned plan, because my data just finished. Thank you very much, data provider. Government-owned plan dishes out dangerous chemicals and threatens residents. So the Lagos State Water Works, Water Waste Management Office at Abeson Estate is the case in study, and Punch went there. The waste management is supposed to convert, liquid waste from the estate residents into a state where it is now easy and able to be, to be disposed into society. We have one at Mautu Estate, several like that built around the Jakonde estates. We're supposed to manage their waste before they release it into the lagoon or anywhere else. But the one at Abeson Estate right now is just sitting there, permitting the worst kind of smell, and other gases like that released into the environment. That peaceful estate is presently under risk. I'm taking this story because, of course, we have a Ministry of Environment and that of Water Management in Lagos that can look into the seriousness of that story. Okay. We don't want environmental...
Any story?
Yes, I have a story. Terrorists, sad story. Terrorists swooped into a church yesterday, Kankara local government area of Castina. They adopted 5 worshippers, female worshippers, and they shot and injured the pastor. I wanted to be sure the word is church pastor. They shot and injured the church pastor. The confirmation came from the Castina State Police Command. The CP, Gambo Issa, confirmed the incident. He also identified the worshippers, young women. They were a mixture of young and a bit old, but all of them were less than 49. One is 15, one is 13, one is 27, and one person is 36. They mentioned their names just to affirm that these people were identified and kidnapped 5 women from the church. It happened 7 a.m. yesterday, and it's so sad. We're waiting to hear what they would say. In a related story as well, a Reverend Father was lynched. He was burnt to death in Koro community of Koro local government of Niger State.
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our reviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Yeah.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Moving on quickly now to Daily Sun. General election, anxiety over expected retirement of IGP, DIGs, AIGs, CPs, and 290 others. Reject candidates who shun debates, parade forged identities, slander opponents, Pastor Bakare urges voters. NCDC confirms 42 new cases of COVID-19. Tragedy hits PDP as 16 die, 83 injured in auto crash involving supporters in Plateau State. Expectations high as CBN launches domestic payment scheme. Pastor shot worshippers abducted as gunmen attack Katsina community. Money laundry, CBN rolls out guidelines to legal structures, on legal structures, 2 DMBs. An outrage over burning to death of Catholic priest in Niger. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Let me take the Catholic priest in Niger. Tokwe had sort of introduced it. It's the sad story, the sad murder of Catholic priest, Very Reverend Father Isaac Achi of SS Peter and Paul Catholic Church in Paikoro local government in Niger State. They said gunmen yesterday stormed his residence, and for about an hour they tried to get in, and when they couldn't, they put petrol all around his residence and set his house on fire, and that was how, you know, he was burnt to death. Of course, as you expect, there's outrage and criticisms from all stakeholders. The Christian Association of Nigeria across the north, in Niger State, in Abuja, you know, asking government to provide protection, you know, for its citizens. You know, what's interesting about this priest story is also that he had survived in December 2011 a bombing in St. Teresa's Catholic Church in Suleja. In 2013, he survived a kidnap attempt when government invaded his residence, and now in 2023, you know, they finally got him. Like, what are the odds in any other country? Just one of these would have been something you would experience, you know, and for the rest of your life, you would mention it. But to have this happen over and over again until, you know, they got the upper hand, I truly feel sorry. And, you know, our hearts go out to the Christian community in Niger State.
Yeah.
And I do hope, the police has said that they have, of course, started investigations. And maybe.
All right, so a Sun reporter had said in his article that authorities and INEC have expressed concern over the fact that about 50 policemen and 290 others, actually IGP, DIGs, and many AIGs and Commissioner of Police were about to, will be having to retire in one fell swoop, and 290 other policemen would also retire first quarter of this year. And they are saying, according to this reporter, they've expressed concern because in this elections, particularly, they need as much police as possible, and they are the enforcement agency that many will be relying on for security and protection. However, when I now read the article, the reporter actually did approach INEC, and INEC said, according to what he said, INEC said that I should think that the federal government knows what to do, that they are more concerned about ensuring and organizing a credible elections for this 2022. I'm not sure INEC expressed fear based on these comments, but according to the reporter, he said they expressed fear. So, but I don't know. But the point is that they can actually extend, if there are fears of of security or insecurity,
done in the
they can
past.
always extend their stay for some time until after elections, and then they can talk about retirement. But that is worth considering at this time. Okay, another story in Sun.
Yes, to combat money laundering, the CBN has rolled out a new set of guidelines on the legal structures to banks, the money deposit banks, and other financial institutions, and they are trying to combat the use of funds to deal with terrorism, counter proliferation of financial weapon of mass destruction. So, like any terrorists have a way of getting funds, and so this legal structure would prevent money laundering and such actions. But one of the things that this article highlighted was the fact that every Nigerian should know that from January 31st of 2023, the 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira will cease to be legal tenders by the end of this month. So there is no extension so far. Everybody that has money should pay the money in, and it's also part of the new policy to combat
All of us that were getting paid with the old money.
You don't collect
As
the
at
old
now,
money anymore.
We will sleep in the bank.
I know, but first, before you start stop collecting, they
We
should
will
first
sleep in
provide
the
it.
bank now.
They should provide the
They
new
should be
money.
paying you with transfer. That's what they're trying to do. They want people to stop collecting cash and handling cash. So if somebody wants to give money, tell them transfer the money to me.
It's still the old money that's coming out.
So what do you want me to do?
Okay, let's move on to
Will it come
Vanguard.
out?
Security operatives rescued 12 Edo train kidnapped victims, 2 still held. 53 years after, we must never again allow another war, says Peter Obi. Poll, Atiku Tinubu disagree over performance and health status. Bandits kill Catholic priest, burn corpse, shoot colleague in Niger. IPOB raises alarm, claims herdsmen plan to attack Anambra. And Ayaoku's peace move to end Nigeria's civil war, says by Professor Oshuntokun. Okay, which story are we taking here?
Edo State, we remember the train victims. Good news, 12 of them have been released. Have been rescued, not released, rescued. And this was made possible by the Special Forces, the Army, the police, DSS, local vigilante, hunters, and other security agencies. So I'm talking of the Edo State train attack. The governor went to the hospital to visit the victims, and while he was there, he criticized and reprimanded NRC for not providing enough security, especially after the Kaduna incident. And he also threatened traditional rulers and saying that some of them are still giving out their lands to herders for grazing. And he says, you know, they would, anyway, he threatened them. The police also were speaking about it, and they said that it was based on intelligence. They heard that these people were roaming the bushes, and so they laid an ambush, and they were able to rescue these people. But 2 of them have escaped. They said they were able to also make arrests, and they're still on the tail of the other 2 that have the other 2 that were taken away by these terrorists. And he also mentioned that there are some people amongst us that are part of this syndicate. So hopefully with the arrest of some of these terrorists, they're able to get more information, more intelligence on the group of people that are doing this.
There's a story that we skipped in Sun that is very important, the effects of fuel scarcity. So the story is about the fact that consumers are lamenting that a lot of man-hour is being lost to spending at retail outlets. But that's not just consumers alone. Even marketers of petrol are saying that it's taking 3 days to load a tipper, like a 33-liter truck. 33,000 liter truck of petrol taking 3 days. And that's on the normal, in the old order, within that 3 days, you can load, go to Ibadan, come back, do 2 trips within 3 days. But right now, it takes 3 days to just load up 1 trip.
They're also losing
and they are losing money, waiting, they pay allowance, and they are also bribing to get themselves in. That's the old order of, the system is no longer working, having NNPC monopolize importation of fuel. The NNPC needs help with providing more fuel, and they should release that monopoly, let people get more involved to help them out. So private individuals are wasting time queuing up for fuel. Marketers are spending time queuing up for fuel. The fuel crisis is not working for anybody, and we're yet to get the federal government's position on how they are resolving this issue short term.
Okay. So Peter Obi was in Lagos yesterday en route to London because he has a Chatham House address shortly, and he was speaking at the 53rd anniversary of the end of the Nigerian Civil War and Armed Forces Remembrance Day. He was saying specifically, he was urging Nigerians to avoid situations that could lead to another war. According to him, let me quote him specifically, he said, anyone who still harbors a different agenda, different from the realization of a wholesome and unifying people-oriented development vision is doing a terrible disservice to this generation and generations of Nigerians yet unborn. He was saying that we must not harbor any idea of another war, that we must unify Nigeria and remain one as a nation. I will hear that he's due to be at Chatham House in the next couple of days, maybe today or tomorrow, and then people will be able to hear his thoughts and plans for the coming elections.
So quickly, I can just off memory, the NCDC in the Sun. So they've announced that 42 new cases have been found in Nigeria, 27 of those cases in Lagos, and Kogi, Edo, and other COVID-19 cases have been found in Nigeria, and 27 of them in Lagos. The others are spread around Edo and Kogi and some other states. And just the needful, let's just be careful again and wear our face mask.
Okay.
They've not issued guidelines, but you just be careful.
Okay. That's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, move on to our hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Yesterday, January 15th, was our annual Armed Forces Remembrance Day. It's a day set aside every year to commemorate serving men of the armed forces and remember those who died in the line of duty. This morning we'll be celebrating the exploits and services of these distinguished men. Oftentimes we don't celebrate them. We don't even remember to celebrate them. We just walk past it or talk past it. But in the next few minutes, we want to focus and be deliberate about talking and celebrating these men who fight to keep our nation intact. You can join the conversation on 081-270-53687, 091-390-7694. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweets. Today, we'd like to hear from those family members of loved ones who've lost their lives in the line of duty, those who know widows who are still expecting some kind of severance package, those who have loved ones that are there right now that are currently serving, those who just are connected somehow, and even Nigerians, if you just want to celebrate, say something encouraging to members of the armed forces. It would be nice for us to cut this clip and send it to them so they know that Nigerians are really talking about them and know and appreciate the work they do. So call us. We'd love to join. I would love you to join this conversation. Let me start with Nima, because you are trying to start this conversation while we're taking the paper review on your experience you've had with people who have complained or you've seen and observed that some are not being well taken care of even after they've lost their loved ones.
So I have young soldiers, are family friends. In fact, there was this young man. It was a shock for me to hear that he enlisted with the army, and he was immediately posted to Bama in the heat of the Boko Haram. We didn't see him for 3 years. When he later got a relief, he came back. I still didn't see him. He was sent to Ikorodu and then back to the war zone and all of that. So there was another one, close family friend of mine, who died in the middle of the war. When he enlisted also, he died. And he didn't want to join the army. It was a tough decision because for him, the late one, he didn't have a job on time and the army was recruiting. And so he joined. We were all praying. Every day when he goes and comes, I will say, I know you will survive everything. Then the sad news came. We all rallied around his mom, said sorry. But till today, every day I pass the mom, she's just looking like this. You know, so I just wonder if there's an office with the army that reaches out so that, you know, she too can own it. Because we saw, sadly, Russia is not a good example, but we saw the president of Russia, meet with the mother of all the young men who had died. He hosted them, had a meeting, something that makes you think, okay, it's fine.
I remember.
This sacrifice is mine to make. Not that you make it seem like, no, whatever happened,
you're
it's
your
normal
own.
to die. You know, one thing go kill man, all those kind of nonsense things they say. If we sleep for ourselves, death will come. You know, so people, just such tough love kind of commiserations that I don't understand. Somebody has just lost someone, but you're making it seem okay. Sometimes can be crossing the road, people die every day, or dirty, so, you know, and that's the way I think we think. And then we don't understand this, supreme sacrifice that it is for somebody's life to be taken for the peace and unity of our nation. Such that some people will just be careless in their speeches, even online, typing and tweeting all sorts of things, endlessly inciting people.
Right.
So
What are your thoughts on this?
it breaks my heart.
So we do this ceremonial remembrance, and I feel like what we are doing on the 15th of January is a lot of ceremony, but we are not deliberately inculcating the culture of celebrating and honoring our military officers, our soldiers. It's the respect and honor that is done on a consistent basis, not that one day that we do this beautiful ceremony, laying of wreath, which is important, but beyond that, how are we treating our soldiers on a daily basis? Of course, there are a few bad eggs, but if we really count every incident of the few bad eggs that have been documented, as compared to the several heroic moments in history, we know that the bad eggs are very small, and there are indeed many of our soldiers who are heroes indeed. You know, a young man enlists, and a few months after, he knows he's going to the war front, like he's going into a place, not like war front in the terms of what we're fighting is what they call guerrilla warfare. We don't really know when the attack will take place, but you know that when you are going towards this zone, when you enter there, you are at the risk of losing your life. And these people go there, they serve, knowing that every day they are going to work, they might be losing their lives. And when they come back to the streets of Lagos or the cities, it's just like business as usual. There are other countries where we know we can never repay you for the ultimate sacrifice that you might end up going through. But we will so honor you while you are alive and honor your death that people would love to go and serve. As of today, what Nima has said, very few are going to serve just because they really want to serve. As of today, like what Nima said, it's, we don't have a job, let's do this. But it happens to be a category of people that are going to serve. The second category is my father served, my grandfather served, I also want to follow in the line. Right. But why don't we have people that will say, I love my country so much, I love the honor that goes to soldiers, I would love to serve. Exactly. For me, it's beyond celebrating one day, it's honoring them every day and inculcating a culture of respect from Nigerians to soldiers.
Come to you, Mariam. Your thoughts on this, and how do you think we should honor these people?
Well, first of all, we're grateful that we have a day like this where we can come together as a country, one voice, together and honor them. Nima and Tope are right in the sense that we need to do this better. But for me, I'm charging regular Nigerians, not government, when we're talking about acknowledging them and appreciating them. It has to be something that you and I understand to do. The respect should come from us as well. It shouldn't be about when government does this or does that. Yes, there's so many things that in our country that's not working well. But just recently, we know that the president had signed billions of naira towards some allowances that had been owed, for a while. And this is to make up, especially retirees, dependents of the soldiers who had lost their lives. This is government trying to do its best, But I think I have the privilege of having relatives growing up, surrounded by soldiers, and I've seen, I have relatives, friends, and the military is not a quack organization. They don't just pick people off the street. They train them. They instill discipline in them. I know of young boys, even now, who have said, this is what I want to do. I want to serve my country. Maybe we don't see a lot. And that's something I see here. I don't think a lot of the South, please correct me if I'm wrong, Southerners do not really join the military like they do in the Middle Belt in the North. Young boys, that's their ambition. They're growing up to one day serve their country. And so for me, when I see us regular Nigerians show disrespect or mock them, or, it breaks my heart. There was a time that one of my friends that I went to secondary school with called me to say, my brother had gone off and we haven't heard from the military for a while. So these are the things I would like us to talk to, the top officials to do the right thing by the dependents of these officers. where if you, there used to be a time where something would happen and the family is unable to reach them and they're hearing conflicting stories all around social media. Please, I mean, I see it in the movies, they would visit, the military should visit the family, they should hear from the military first, not from social media what happened or what did not happen, and then in the end you say, this is what happened. So, you see that, we need to give them back their dignity, one, in their welfare, two, in teaching in schools the importance and the importance and just, you know, the importance of the military and the pride we should have in the Nigerian military. The global firepower, so this is a body that ranks military all around the world, and Nigeria is the 4th most powerful military in Africa. We're 35th in the world. You know, we should be proud. It counts for a lot. We should be proud. Yes, I agree, there's lots of things going wrong in our country, but in the little things that are good, let us celebrate it. No one will celebrate it for us. Let's celebrate our soldiers more.
Abroad, I mean, there are always issues. I mean, different nations are peculiar in the kind of issues they go through, say when it comes to their military. So, for example, abroad, their issue is not welfare. Their issue is probably reconciling to the society. How do they get jobs? How do they stop having the trauma they have of the war? You know, those are the real issues. Their own military is hoping that government can help them, but in our own, we're still at the stage of welfare. Not even started talking about how to heal afterwards. That's even a long-term issue. But for us, welfare, the widows, you're saying that there should be an office. I'm almost certain there is an office, but the sportsman of us is government prioritizing their funding to ensure that the service commission or whoever is in charge of disbursing funds for the widows and the family of the loved ones should do so in due time. That's the real issue. And to understand the importance of, you know, ensuring that government does its own part of the deal. I mean, as I said, it's not easy for us to just commemorate them today, but it's to have a culture of continually acknowledging. Mariam was sharing a story of the fact that she had some military officers come to do something in her house, and they stayed for 5 hours in the sun. They didn't come down to ask for water, they didn't ask for the food, they just stand. She was really worried about them. She came outside and said they didn't take anything. It's the kind of discipline that you hardly see. Nigerian police, I don't know if they would do that. Nigerian police will give us pure water. But these guys are they are disciplined. And that must count for something where we know these are our military. They are fighting war. And they are guarding our nation. The only reason why we're a nation is because we have a military, strong military, holding forth.
There's something called administration within the military. When you drive through the Ojo Barracks, I drove there, I passed through yesterday evening on my way back. And I just looked at some of the features. Schooling there. I entered the barracks first time, 91. Schooling there, looking at things falling up. It used to be the largest. Their trainings were here in the far distance. I see things and I'm not impressed anymore. I think that the present administration are just leaving things to flow on their own. So there's a select that they'll take care of. But the largest number, and you will see it in the morning. If you drive on the Badagry Expressway, soldiers are hailing cars. In those days, they had fleets of buses, taking them to Abati, taking them to Dodan. Nobody, they joined buses and be joining issues with a civilian. They carried themselves with the kind of dignity. If you're going home now from Erikmo, you just see them standing at a relay bus or different bus stop. You just be seeing them hailing cars going towards Ojo. It's okay if you want to be a nice civilian and help them. But it used to be in the past that it would be one, not several. That you see on the road, and there was budget.
That indignity that we had.
There was budget for this. These are people who are on the pool to be called whenever our security or our sovereignty as a nation is questioned. They are waiting for that, so they resume every day. They take a roll call. Treat them with some form of dignity. The budget cannot be at the bottom. It has to be at the top.
Right. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'd like to take some phone calls. I'd really like to hear from Nigerians today. Let's just take this few minutes to remember our fallen heroes. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
thanks for staying with us. So we're still celebrating our fallen heroes, and even those who are still at the forefront fighting for our nation. I'm going to be taking Mrs. Ladeji from Jos. Good morning, madam. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there, Morayo, and ladies, good morning.
You're live. Yes, ma'am. You're live. Go ahead, ma'am.
And thank you. Tell your husband I'm very grateful for allowing you all on this program.
Thank you, madam.
My heart goes to the families of the fallen heroes. You know, it's unfortunate we don't have a caring government. Even people who retired 5, 6, 10 years, no benefit. They don't even think about the people that are dead. But unfortunately, yes, doesn't take only soldier, it takes everybody. Whatever they reap as the government, they must sow in their own personal life. But let the whole of Nigeria use today to talk to our government. If you see how, military and the super paramilitary people are enjoying in the other world, in Western world, it's wrong with us. You see that we don't have the resources of work, but then we be flying up and down and doing several things with our money. These people that risk their life every day, they are the ones that they are protected all the time. They are not protecting you and I. They are protecting all these people. 300 of them will follow one man. I think it's right. He has 2 heads.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Ladeji. Yes, so we have the fallen heroes, and we also have those who are also at the front line, and they still lack equipment. They lack support. We saw videos in the few years past when the people had complained saying that we need ammunition, we need to be able to have equipment to engage the enemy. And that's also part of this that we also remember during this period.
We also saw when there was a situation of no toilets in a particular, I think it was a training school.
There was police.
Oh, that was police. Okay, sorry. Let's not confuse. But the woman, this our last caller mentioned something, okay, that they are protecting VIPs. And I know that it's easy to highlight.
VIPs?
There are a few military officers that do the same thing as well.
I can pick pictures of true VIPs.
That was police.
Let's just leave it.
But with the full jet.
Like I mentioned earlier, when you pick up the few things that you feel are wrong, the majority, like 90% of military is focused on every time trying to serve this country, and they know it might cost their life. And if you have majority serving, let's focus on how to care for those majority and inspire more people. We don't have, I'm sure that if we do a census of the ratio of military officers that we should have, there's room for more. We should have more. But how many people are, and then we try to colorize this thing like, oh, we don't want to do this. Who want your child to be in the military? Would you want your child to be? Well, if nobody wants to go into the military, how do we protect the sovereignty? Because if anything goes wrong, you want to say, deploy military to the place.
But we
deploy military to the place.
Be big devil brother. In fact, we're still big brothers to a lot of nations in Africa. So we can't just take this issue of military with levity. Let me take this call from Jos Salisu. Good morning, you're there.
Just people.
Good morning. And good morning to the ladies.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, I am a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. So, I'm happy of the topic you guys are talking about.
Okay.
It's a very important topic to me because, for one, I am from a family of military. My dad was a retired army officer. He served this country for 35 years. He's a Civil War veteran. He fought in the Biafra War. He's still alive, very, very strong and happy. I have 2 serving officers as brothers, blood brothers in the army.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I understand what it means to be in the military. I have friends, colleagues that are in the military. And believe you me, the military is the only thing that we have keeping this country together. People just sit down and try to talk bad about the military. Like the Alaja have said, a lot of things have gone wrong in the military. A lot of ethics have come down. It's not like that. Most of the activities you see today is just because of politicians still play a part in bringing people into the recruitment processes. But still, I can tell you for a fact, the military always wants to be straight in what they do. Because of this is the only organization that has that high level of professionalism. So no matter how we see it, it's the only organization of the uniform job that has high level of professionalism still, but it's not like before. It's not like before. We have a department called Department of Veteran Affairs. in the army. It handles everything about the ex-servicemen and the issues of the dead. But mostly, I want to believe that they don't do much on the dead because of all military personnel are supposed to be on that life insurance. So when you do that for the military, it means that today, if somebody loses his life, there is an insurance cover for the family to handle first before even the benefits. So I think if the military hierarchy are hearing me, they should look at that issue of putting every military personnel, not only military, every uniform personnel under insurance, because of every day they go out, they are at risk of losing their life.
Thank you so much, Salisu.
He understands.
A few more comments before we wrap up on this.
I wanted to quickly add that, another sad example is having military control traffic. That's the anointing. Go to Alakija. You will see military controlling traffic. In fact, I stopped once. One was my classmate from university. I stopped and I saw him early in the morning at 6 a.m. We parked, we gisted, and I was pained because he's educated, he has a degree in law. He should be in the higher offices. Let's put dignity back in the military. There used to be dignity in the military so that children looked up to it. It was a job people aspired to. And when you aspire to it, it's not that you don't understand what the sacrifice was, but you felt that dignity came. 2 cases that I knew of moved from our own military here and found a way to relocate abroad and join military in other countries. They were even in the higher ranks. Let's put dignity back. We know we can do these things. And it's not hard to call out government.
As we wrap up, we just want to once again celebrate our fallen heroes. A few comments before we wrap up.
He says, bringing respect for the military back lies squarely with the government and the military itself. In Senate clients, soldiers don't go on the road to argue with downfall drivers and flog civilians. Keep them in the barrack and treat them well.
Festus Akimboyewa says, let's learn to walk up to those who wear the uniforms of our armed forces and say to them kind words like, thank you for your service, well done, you're doing a great job. This will remind them always that they are close to our heart and the heart of our nation. He also says, sadly, there are many of our military service men and women who are daily demonstrating an uncommon heroism that is not recorded and recognized. These servicemen and women endure hardships and fears daily. Time to appreciate the sacrifices of our military officers. And
finally, I'd like to just say that this is another we the people, I think, also because there are leadership at various levels. There's somebody in charge of the Veterans Commission that the Akola mentioned. There's somebody in charge of welfare. There's somebody in charge of ammunition. There are leaders at all levels. And when people prioritize lives, prioritize the fact that our military officers must be taken care of. Their loved ones, when they pass on, must be cared for. They must be given insurances. Even those on the field must have proper ammunition to be cared for, uniforms, things that gives them dignity, confidence, and pride. So it's one thing to have a policy. It's one thing to have a budget. It's another thing to actually disburse. It's another thing to actually ensure that they get it, that the right people get what they're supposed to get. So there's a huge difference, and it all comes back to leadership. Who is leading at every level? It's one thing you can blame the president, but you can also blame all the various levels of people who are in charge. So we use this opportunity again to commemorate with this day, Armed Forces Day in Nigeria, and say that may their souls rest in peace, those who are fallen and those who are alive, and may God continue to give them the strength to defend our nation. Let's go on a break now. When we come back, move on to other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. While we're waiting for our next guest who's going to be speaking on security, we'll be trying to take a few calls on those who like to celebrate the fallen heroes and see if you want to say a few things before we wrap up the segment. Do you have any calls?
There's a tweet. Adekemi says, I wish that there's a way they can settle their wives in terms of housing and even business. And I think this will go a long way. Instead of the one-off settlement, 3 months stay in the barracks and then forcing them out of the barracks to create housing for somebody else. The post-service barracks, I don't know how come, but it's been sold out. There's a post-service barracks for those who are ex-military men or those who are family members of ex-military to buy at cheaper rates, subsidized rate plots of land. But what you see there now is something else. Maybe they are reselling, but it should be looked into. and also settling them in business, training. I know the Nigerian Army's Officers' Wives Association, the NAWA, has a group of women who do those interventions from time to time. They can also follow them up with grants and follow them up with business training to see that the women are truly independent on their own and they can, live on their own without their loved ones.
Fiona says, the army is really trying. And same Fiona is also saying that just people are so many in the army, that's on YouTube. Somebody else was saying that, God forbid, if Nigerian sovereignty is threatened, the youth would compulsorily drafted into the army as they did in Ukraine. And I think that that's something that we don't, yes, we don't realize that it's important. That's why everybody, as you graduate, go through NYSC with the expectation that at least you have a bit of ruggedity schooled into you one way or the other. But I think it's important that we celebrate the fact that we have peace in whatever form that the military has been able to help us preserve it. Because like it or not, they are supporting in helping to preserve our sovereignty and our peace. And some people on social media are not seeing it because they feel like because we don't see their presence on the streets does not mean that they are not working. They are actually working, and we should celebrate them. It's a thing that we take for granted. When you travel and military people come into the plane, if there is any space in first class, they just bump them up into first class because you are a military, you're a when you're wearing your uniform, you're a 7 military officer, you're in the plane, they move you, they upgrade you.
Somebody took the initiative.
Yes.
Somebody took the initiative. Yes. There's no law. There's no moral. There's no law that says you have to. It's just a moral obligation. You feel like, okay, no, let me celebrate. So
there used to be a time that you would know that a military officer is standing, a car will stop and pick them up.
Yes.
I remember one time I stopped and I picked up a military officer, a female military officer. It was about to rain, and I dropped her, close to where she wanted. So when I told my husband, I said, you be picking strangers up. What if it was, But so those things happen. But seeing military is not a good thing to see military on the streets all the time. It's a sign of that, there are issues. So like during all the unrest, you would see different points where, they're doing stop and search because of the unrest. So the thing is, you're not supposed to see heavily armed military officers on your streets. It scares people. When they come onto the streets, when you see them around, it should be because, they're here to protect something or divert a threatening situation. I'm very proud of our soldiers. I'm proud especially, I think because I've gotten to an age where I have younger ones. I can say, I know when this boy was born. I know when this guy got into secondary school. Do you know this person is now a military officer? So it makes it even more, personal. That these people are our brothers, they are our sisters, they are our sons, they are our daughters. They're not just those soldiers, those military men. They are human beings. And if we see them that way, if we see that these people are our family members, as a group of people, as citizens of Nigeria, we'll show them the respect that they, that they deserve. That's how I would like for us to always treat them. I'm proud of them, and I wish them all the best.
The military is a very independent institution. They investigate themselves. They have their court martials. They, they try their own cases and sentence their own cases. They're only subject to the appeal court within the justice system. The military must restore that department that investigates corruption within the military. What is the amount budgeted for soldiers in the war front? How much is disbursed at the end of the day? Where did the money go? Somebody has to do that to ensure that, because the budget for defense, we see it every year, but we don't see it in execution eventually. We need somebody within the military to know what goes what and how money went where.
Let's stop politicizing.
Yes, let's not politicize
when it comes to issues with the military. We have a top military officer that was locked up because we found out that he had diverted funds that was meant for the military. And during that time was when we saw those videos of the military complaining we don't have equipment, we don't get the training, our welfare is poor. And we also politicized that. We made it about religion, we made it about where the person is from, we made it about party. Let's always concentrate on Nigeria first. And remember that the enemy of Nigeria is not a religion or ethnicity, it's the person who decides to steal our resources and cripple our nation.
Yes, and take off our dignity. So within the military, such allegations were really not investigated because we never heard the last of the I'm trying to remember his position, who was alleged to have diverted funds to build a house in Dubai. We didn't hear the last of it. It would have been nice that a proper investigation panel was set up, probed to the last, every single cupboard that passed through his office, to be sure that his hands are clean, so that people's blood is not on the money that he claims to now have suddenly inherited from his ancestors. No, it's just important.
Circling back to where Murayo said we should focus, which I want to focus on based on what she said. We cannot wish away the fact that there's corruption in everywhere you look in Nigeria. You'll find corruption because we the people are not taking responsibility. We the people can decide that while we are waiting for the government to clean up themselves and for the military to properly regulate itself, we will celebrate those that we see. We will no longer frown at what Mayam experienced. What Mayam did is what we would all do with pride now. We would give a military person a lift. We would happily extend, thank you. I always do this when I'm driving to Ekpe because I see them, they mount roadblocks. And when they stop me and wind, I greet them, I say, thank you so much. It's because of you that I can drive on this road with my full chest because I know that I will meet you on the road and I'm safer. And sometimes it's as little as that would give them comfort, because they are also on the streets inside the sun. And so you acknowledging that you see their efforts, it would help out a lot.
All right, fantastic. That's all we can take on this. I'm told that our guest is now connected. We're going to break. When we come back, we'll bring in our guest for the next segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So joining the conversation now is the former Director of Operations of the Department of State Security Services, DSS, Mr. Raymond Iheanacho Nkemdirim. Welcome to the show. He's going to be speaking on the state of insecurity in Nigeria, Southeast security, rising cases of kidnapping, and he also maybe say one or two things about the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. You can join the conversation on 081-270-53687, 091-390-7694. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. Welcome, sir, to the show. It's such a pleasure and honor to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So before we discuss insecurity, let's start with the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. It was yesterday, and many people commemorated that day, especially because of our fallen heroes and the family loved ones, the family they left behind. As a retired DSS, what are your thoughts on what the country has done? Has the country done enough to honor our fallen heroes and take care of their loved ones who they left behind?
Well, the fact that that day is set aside for honoring our fallen heroes is indeed a mark of honor by government and indeed the people of this country. But I believe a lot more still has to be done because we have seen a situation where we've had complaints by veterans and what have you. But I believe this constant or annual recognition of these fallen heroes goes a long way in showing the appreciation of this country to their efforts in keeping us together.
Right. Okay, let's touch on
Yes, just a little in continuation of that, and we'd just like to know, I mean, DSS, also security operatives, they've also been caught in quite threatening situations, and I wonder, what do you think motivates Nigerians, born in Nigeria, knowing all the Nigerian problems, to want to be part of the military, the security structure of this country, knowing the sacrifice that they may ultimately make? What do you think, in your opinion?
I didn't get that correctly.
Okay. I mean, you have served also, at the security, part of the security structure of our country. And I always wonder what inspires or motivates people like you and all the young ones coming now, in spite of Nigerian problems and everything we complain about. But the people still today wanting to serve our country, knowing that there's an ultimate sacrifice that they may eventually make. What do you think is that thing that inspires people like you to join our military and security structure?
All right. I would say very quickly, it's sheer patriotism. Now, I give you an instance for him.
Okay, so we're still having connection issues. We're trying to get some visuals and audio with our guests, but we're still having a bit of network issues. I have to go on a quick break. I mean, I've always wanted to talk to a DSS. So, you know, we've always talked about DSS in different categories. So I really wanted to get into the issue of security, how the operation goes, how they even gather intelligence. I would love to know that. I mean, these are things we'd like to talk to the DSS. So we really were looking forward to this conversation.
What do you have
to study to become a DSS operative? And because people always underestimate or undervalue the enormity of the work they do. So I think it would be great for us to see and hear from one.
They're always with the president. They're always with all the governors. They are the ones. They wear suits and they all do the.
That's the ones we see.
The ones we see, Abby. Yeah.
So hopefully we can get him reconnected. Hello, sir. Can you hear me now? Oh, glad. Okay. Yeah. So I think you already answered Mariam's question.
No, he was
about to start.
I'm about to start answering a question about patriotism. Go ahead, sir.
Ooh.
It's going to break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
All right, because we're running out of time, let's go straight to the security issues. Nima, you have a question for our DSS officer?
Okay, so over the weekend, this trended the story of the CUPP's boss head, whose house was raised in Imo State. I'm trying to remember the locality. And people came online calling for, government help. What exactly is happening in the East? Because there was peace this December, everybody traveled. Are they handpicking cases? Is there strong presence of IPOB? And what can you say government can do to abate this issue?
Yeah. Did you get that question, sir?
Yes, I didn't know they were actually talking to me because I was looking at the screen. Now, the question is it about the security situation in the Southeast this Christmas?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, incidentally, I traveled home for the Christmas myself, and we recorded one or two incidents that really gave us cause for concern. I think our security agencies need to do a little bit more to ensure that we have total peace in that region. In this era of satellites and drones, it grieves my heart to see the way these criminals operate unchallenged. I think we have to up our game in terms of technology. It's not about just the men and equipment we buy. Like I'm one of those who would say, I don't quite buy the idea of buying heavy military equipment at a time when intelligence is what we require to really bring the security situation under control. So I want to see a situation where government and its security forces place more emphasis on the acquisition of intelligence, the location of these criminals, fish them out, and clear the vision of all these insecurities.
Right.
I believe that if we do that, we'll have more peace to have our elections this year.
Okay, sir, I wanted to ask you, you spoke about going to the East, noticing some things. In the case of gathering intelligence, You mentioned also that in the technology of drone. So I want to ask you, do you believe that it is technology that we are lacking in our security apparatus, or do we need more boots on ground to gather the native intelligence interacting with people? What do you think is where do you feel the gap is, and which would you advise as the best strategy going forward?
Now, security is about being proactive and not the reactive type of thing we see these days. A lot more has to be spent on intelligence. Like, I wasn't particularly excited when I heard that the federal government bought 12 Tucano jets at about $459 million. And I don't think we put them to use any day in the course of all this fight. I don't know the details, but I think if half of that money is channeled to acquiring necessary technology for intelligence operations, I believe we can get this people out. But as long as we rely on facing them man to man, so long we will continue to have these problems. Because these people, it's an asymmetric warfare that we're involved in. These people are not sitting in one place. It's not like the Russia-Ukraine war where you know the enemy is coming from. The enemy resides within the community. And how do you fish them out? There is technology. So I believe government should place more emphasis on funding intelligence operations in this country, so that we don't wait until these people are attacked before we begin to look for them. If we have requisite satellite capability and drones watching over the entire Nigerian territory, I believe before these people move, we'll get them.
All right, sir, you know, what you're just saying is like a no-brainer, really, because Nigerians have been saying this for a while. Even when NSAS happened, one international news agency bought photographic pictures of things that happened at the tollgate. So these are things that we know that can happen. But for whatever reason, whoever is advising the government, the president, the national security officer, whoever is advising them is obviously not telling them the importance of technology, because many of us see and we understand clearly, layman out there sees that it's not about having those boots on ground or having the Tucano jets. It's more about gaining intelligence, using technology to have a way to to be able to defeat these terrorists. So my question, therefore, as a DSS officer and as a retired, I would say, who do you think, how do we advise the president? Who gives the president advice? How do we get him to be able to address the real pain points of this war against insecurity?
Well, I place that responsibility squarely on the doorstep of the National Security Advisor. I believe it behoves him to tell Mr. President what security approaches are best for the country. And I believe that in the circumstances, intelligence is lacking, and that is where to go.
I have a question. You mentioned something very important where you said security is not reactive; it needs to be proactive. And you obviously, from your tone, it seems that you don't think that we're doing enough of that. And I would like to find out, you have been part of this structure for a while, even though you're retired now. Would you say that this is something that has gotten worse? The lack of being proactive, is this something that has gotten worse, or has it always been this way? And is it that it's in hindsight you're able to give this advice? Sometimes when we sit with people who are when they are in office, they don't say things like what you're saying now. They make it seem like everything is working, we're doing our best. And then when they leave office, you hear this. So is this something you notice when you're office, or is it when you have left office that you notice these things?
Well, let me answer this question by taking us back to the Chibok girls incident. Now, for us as security agents, at that time, I was in office, you would hear, the public saying all sorts of things about the security agencies and not living up to their duties and responsibilities. If they were doing what they were supposed to do, we would have been able to rescue this girl. Now, for somebody on the seat, you feel pain that you know what to do, but you lack the equipment. Most times, because we couldn't afford this equipment, we went into collaboration with foreign agents. But honestly, sometimes you get disappointed by the level of support you get. The truth is, some of these equipment that can help you do your job are quite expensive. Like once we invited what I would call a vendor, that is, they deal in surveillance equipment that can help us see all around our borders. And we said to them, look, you have provided security surveillance equipment for one of the countries in the Middle East, and no fly can pass through their border undetected. So can we have the same? So we got into a discussion, and at the end of the day, after a very fine presentation, we asked him how much. For God's sake, the man said $20 billion. We were like, before you came to Nigeria, don't you know what our GDP is? Don't you know? How do you want us to pay $20 billion? So these things are really expensive. But through adequate collaboration, and let me say sincere collaboration, not adequate, sincere collaboration with these agencies, foreign agencies, I believe we can achieve a lot. The truth is, these equipment are expensive.
Right.
But honestly, if we have them, we'll
So
do
let
a long way.
me throw a question, a very controversial question. I'll come to you, Nima. People always talk about internal sabotage within the system. Do you think there is? And if there is, where do you think that we can start to tackle internal sabotage across our security architecture?
Well, the simple thing is what we call vetting, that is background checks. You have a lot of people who come into the security agencies with ulterior motives. Sometimes they just want to, they're coming there just for the pay, or they're coming there because they want to use it to facilitate whatever criminal activities they were into before. But if you do regular checks on your men, I take the DSS for instance. I had worked there for 10 years, and they have what they call a revetting exercise. They will go back to look into your record, how much you have acquired since you came, and all this is done discreetly. So in my own particular case, they have gone all the way to my village where I come from and asked them my date of birth, and they gave them a conflicting date of birth from what I had given in the office. And they took me off. So little things like that. Our security agencies must take things like this very seriously. Let us look at the men we have there. Because recently, we've had a lot of stories like the attack on the Kaduna Barracks, NGA. We had some insiders were involved. And we're having so much of that happening these days. So I believe that we must continuously vet and revet our security agents to ensure that those we have in the system do not sabotage our operations.
Right, Nima.
So my earlier question was on the CUPP, the Coalition for United Parties spokesperson, Ikenga, whose family house was attacked in Imo State. I was asking, how peaceful can you say generally the Southeast is? And are they truly handpicking? Because he alleged that the state governor sent people to assassins to his house, and that they, arsonists as well, they burnt down his family house and killed his uncle. Is that truly the case up north, also in the Southeast? Are they picking up people, or is it generally that IPOB is just, causing the instability there?
Nothing can be ruled out these days, but honestly, by my own standards, I prefer to investigate things before commenting, because a lot of times what you see outwardly is actually not what is happening within, or what is actually not the real situation. So sometimes I tend to be careful how I react to some of these situations. But obviously, things are not the way they should be. In Imo State, I think a lot has to be done to correct some of the happenings in that state for now. But I just implore the security agencies to really rise to the occasion and restore full confidence in the operations in that state.
Amen.
Okay, so someone on Twitter is saying that, is asking questions. I know that you're not currently the DSS
Director.
Currently, there's the allegation that the DSS declared the CBN governor Emefiele wanted and for financing terror, and that we've not really heard anything. There are also cases where we hear, DSS picked up someone and it was not released for a long period of time, and the family did not have access. What exactly is the DSS role in, should the DSS be arresting people? Or what's their modus operandi? I thought before, when I was growing up, it was just intelligence gathering. But now I'm fine. We're seeing a different trend. So please just...
Also, is DSS like CIA and FBI? I'd like to know.
Well, let me say quickly. The DSS is Nigeria's equivalent of the FBI in the U.S. Now,
They can make arrests.
When you look at the act establishing the DSS, it tells you that it has to prepare to detect and prevent threats to the security of the Nigerian state.
Okay.
That's why it's called State Security Service. It's not government security service or security service for any particular person. It is for the Nigerian state. So whatever action the DSS takes is in the overall interest of the Nigerian state. If I know one thing for sure, that one thing the DSS said is to conduct any operation for which it will be accused of any bias. There's no doubt that, yes, when you take certain action sometimes, various interpretations will be given to it. But I believe that if the DSS takes any action that anybody feels uncomfortable with, for God's sake, there is rule of law in this country. If your rights are infringed, there's no need, for all the public bureau. I think people should who feel their rights have been infringed should seek redress in the court. And I want to believe that the DSS is one agency that is scared of public criticism or accusations of human rights violations.
Yeah. So, sir, given the position that you've held, I want your honest opinion. There's this thing that we're doing with what we call former Boko Haram insurgents, where we are forgiving them and pardoning them and finding ways to reintegrate them into our communities. Do you think that's a good idea?
Let me say outrightly, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I've had a lot of exposure internationally as regards fighting terrorism. And one maxim that is common is that the terrorist never repents. He will only pretend that he has changed for him to get to freedom. We have had so many cases where we released such people in the past, thought we are talking them on the side of government, and asked them to go back. To preach, because we thought we had de-radicalized them through had the great literature which we had fed them direct from Saudi Arabia. But yet, when we sent them back out there to see how they could help convert their other members to the real doctrines of their faith, we found out that most of them failed us.
Right.
So I am not
In support of that.
I'm not well disposed to that.
Let me ask you this question, sir, because many of us are very exposed to foreign content, and we see the FBI, you know, they have all the data, you know, call a name, and FBI will give you all the records, and they give you even the grandmother's first name or maiden name. Does DSS have information on all Nigerians? Do you have data? Do you have intelligence on where we are per time? Do you have some kind of surveillance where you know where citizens are? Or we're not there yet? Are we still using the manual way of whenever you now catch somebody, you now get their details? Or do you have that kind of secret data that nobody knows, you know, and the federal government doesn't know that you have?
Yeah, well, one of the functions of the DSS is actually to conduct background checks on all persons of interest. So we don't wait until you become a criminal before we need to look at your record. So constantly, we are updating our record on all the Nigerians. You'll be surprised that a large cross-section of the country, for a large cross-section, files are kept on all these people. So once perhaps a crime occurs in a particular area, from the records available, we begin to look at who are the likely persons of interest, and we begin to focus attention there. So these records are being updated constantly. And now, there's collaboration between DSS and all agencies that keep records of Nigerians, like Federal Road Safety Commission, the National Population Commission, maybe the police, and all other agencies, INEC, anyone that collects data on Nigerians. All those records are pulled together with their biometrics and everything. So the data is constantly being updated to ensure that when persons of interest come within the purview of the service, they can immediately have records with which to carry out their operations.
Okay, so you're a former director of operations with the DSS, and just earlier you were talking about intelligence, and now you have also said that the DSS gets the intelligence that we need as a nation. Why is it now that, so that since we have that agency, it seems we are not up to par with using intelligence to combat the security issues that we have? Is it that the DSS is not performing, or, there's possible sabotage within the DSS?
No, I told you earlier that this is an era of technology. You need a lot of technology to function.
You're not using that.
But you don't have it. You don't have it. Now, a lot of our security operatives, for instance, they go on courses abroad. And when they go for such courses, they are tops. They come out tops. But then they come back to Nigeria, for instance, they kidnap. If somebody is kidnapped, for instance, in the US, within 24 hours, it's caught. And everybody will say, oh, those people out there are very efficient. But it is Nigeria, they can't do nothing. They are efficient because the equipment are there. I just give you an example of a surveillance equipment that we wanted to acquire. And they said, it's $20 billion. How do you start talking? But for instance, New York Fire Service alone, their budget in a year is $15 billion. Just the fire service department. So with them, with that kind of funds they have available, it's easier for them to function. So your men here are trained, they know what to do, but they don't have the equipment. So it's not a question of them not being effective. It's the fact that their tools of trade are getting more expensive, and we need some special intervention to really acquire what we can to assist, and also more effective foreign collaboration from Christian nations to assist us to tackle our current security challenges.
So when I hear you, you're saying we can't afford to protect ourselves. Is what I'm almost hearing. It's too expensive to be able to protect ourselves. And also when you say that, you talk about how expensive everything is, everything that's being imported, everything that is being brought in from another country. Are we looking, I've heard a few things that we've done locally, but are we really looking inwards on how to creatively find solutions to our insecurity problems?
My dear, we are looking inward. We are doing what we can. If not, the situation could have been worse than this. You'll agree with me that, yes, a lot of times things have gone out of control, but within a couple of months, you find out that things begin to stabilize again. So it's not as if we're saying because we cannot afford those equipment, then we'll just sit down and fold. And no, we're improvising. All I'm saying is that we can do better if these equipment are made available. For instance, I heard you say something about the defense budget and what have you. We must also begin to see how our legislators can help to beef up the intelligence budget to ensure that since these are the equipment we use, this is what is being used elsewhere and success is being achieved, let us also acquire ours to be able to meet international standards in order to be able to contain our security situation. So the security agencies on ground are doing what they can within available resources. But then I'm just saying that it would be better if their funding is improved.
Okay.
In terms of intelligence.
All right, we have to wrap up. Let me just
I
final.
think last week we had the chairman of the budget on security. I can't remember.
House committee.
House committee on.
Defense.
So and the conversation he said was also buttressing this, that we need to separate we need to unbundle the defense budgets so that recurrent is separate from capital expenditure rather than lumping it up together. But I hear you, and I wonder what you what would you give as an immediate, what can we do in the immediate to reduce at least one of the biggest problems we have in security now is kidnapping. And what would you advise as the best form of reducing kidnappings from taking place or even recovering kidnapped victims?
Well, honestly, for me, I think it's still about technology. Drones they have the form. So I think whatever operations we are conducting these days, we don't send men out there into operations without drones. For me, I think that is one thing that is lacking. If we can infuse more of those drones in our system, they are not too expensive. Those ones are not too expensive.
Right.
So with that, I believe it will help our operations a lot.
We have to wrap up now. I mean, I'm so sorry that we couldn't see your picture because having technical issues. I would love to see your face. Maybe next time when we have you, we can better have a proper engagement with you. But we'll be speaking with the former Director of Operations, DSS, Mr. Raymond Nkemdirim. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.